Welcome to another episode of Tomes and Tunes. This is episode 80. I am your host, Arielle Silver. I am a song maker, storyteller, teaching artist based in Los Angeles, and pretty much mostly based here in my she shed in my backyard. This is where I spend most of my time. I think this has saved my relationship because, of course, it's in the backyard out of the house during this time of COVID. And this show, episode 80, 80 different songwriters. Every week a different songwriter. I bring them on. We talk about books and play some music and talk about anything else under the sun or today under the Los Angeles clouds. We've got a little bit of rain that has come in. Thank goodness. Anyway, we're right here on the edge of the holiday season. I guess we're in the middle of the holiday season now. Autumn is just about over. The first day of winter is next week. If you're watching this live, that just, you know all this information. And if you're watching the replay, that's when this is happening. And next week is Christmas week, and we don't have a live Tomes and Tunes next week, but I have a pre-recorded episode that I'm really excited to bring to you. So if you are hanging around next week, it's going to go live at the very same time, 2 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. And it's a pre-recorded episode, and it's really fun. It was a great conversation with a songwriter that I just have a lot of respect for. It was a very fun conversation. Actually, the two of us were sitting side by side here in the shed, and that is with Steve Key. So if you're around next week, tune in. This week, I am very excited to bring on a Colorado-based artist. I think in Colorado they say Colorado, but where I'm from on the East Coast, we always say Colorado. So we'll find out what he has to say about it. But this artist, Dave Tamkin, I'm so excited to finally meet him. He and I had accidentally struck up email correspondence. It was just sort of a funny happenstance that we ended up sending emails back and forth to each other, and I was like, let's get you on Tomes and Tunes, and he was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So I'm really excited to bring Dave on. Dave Tamkin, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, all the way here from Colorado.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't know
originally
why.
from Chicago. So
I had a
just
feeling. Thank you for telling me. I was like, where's that accent from? I was like, it doesn't ring as Colorado. Yeah, how'd you end up in Boulder?
I met a woman at a bar in Chicago, and she said, I don't have time for this. I'm moving to Colorado. And I said, take it easy. So we've been together 14 years, married 10. So it worked out pretty nicely.
Wow, you met her in a bar in Chicago, and she was like, sorry, honey, I'm out. And you're like, actually, I'm going to go with you. Is that pretty much how it happened?
It wasn't so much like that.
It wasn't quite that fast.
She was moving quickly, so we dated, and I was touring full time at the time, so I was able to, fly in and out, and we kept the relationship going. And then I finally just got an apartment here in Denver, a 6-month lease, just to see how it went, and
yeah,
that was it.
Wait, so are you in
shortly after that?
Okay, so you're in Boulder.
Yes.
But you were in Denver. Okay. I've never been to Boulder. I have been in Denver. I was there just for a night or two a long time ago. And I thought to myself, I kind of earmarked it. I was like, I need to get back here. I really like it here. Boulder, I've heard, is an awesome town. I've not been there either. Haven't spent enough time in Colorado.
I love it here. People make fun of it, call it the Boulder bubble, but it's a bubble that I don't mind.
Yeah, you're like, I like this bubble.
Yeah,
that's all right. I'm good in here. I'll stay here.
Yeah, we live close to the Flatiron, so there's always something there to remind you how small you are in the world and to keep trying to achieve more. So I love the hikes. I love the weather. It's always sunny. Coming from Chicago, where doom and gloom starting in October would not go away until March or April.
I hear you. I think that Chicago and Boston are like spirit twins or something like that. you know, oh gosh, it's so dark. Boulder, I didn't know that it was sunny there.
Yeah, 300 plus days a year.
And great hiking, very green.
Very green. Yeah, I mean, they call it a desert climate, but
oh, man.
where I hang out, it's pretty green. So
okay.
Can't go.
Well, start looking for property because maybe.
It might be too late here.
Oh shoot, that's right. That's the other thing I've heard about Boulder. I think that bird has maybe flown.
Yeah.
So Dave, you and I were talking before the show about how we both did music, our hearts, our souls, our lives built around it, touring, traveling, recording, all that stuff, and then we both stopped and stepped away for some time, and then we both came back. I'm really curious for you about that comeback. What was like? Was it just a gradual, like, oh, okay, I think I'll dabble in this, or was there like a lightning strike, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this?
I had a friend that said he would like to produce some of these songs that I guess he liked. And once we went into the studio, he just made them larger than life for me, and it was very inspiring. So from there, I would say the last EP, which probably was 2017, 2018, that's when it started to kick in, and I felt like the things I wanted to sing about had a different voice. I've grown up a little bit since then, and I see the world a little bit differently. I've lost a father since then as well.
Wow.
So I just, I'm seeing things different, and I wouldn't mind expressing it somehow. And what's different is that I think there was a goal there as far as where the music went, and I don't have that anymore. I feel a little bit more free of the expectations that come out on the other side of whatever songs I'm writing now.
You mean like before you had some kind of professional ambition? Is that what you mean by goal? And now, or did you have a sound that you were specifically writing to before, and now you just let each song become what the song wants to become? Is that what you mean?
I think both. I mean, definitely what I was stating there was definitely for the song to become what it wants to become. But professionally too, I'm enjoying the journey of getting back into playing music more often, and I'm willing to see where that goes. I want to diversify how I make music, how I share it with the world, and the more ways I can do that, the better. And I think if you stick with that, you can be successful doing what you love doing and define success by, happiness and a roof over your head and whatever you need to do to define success.
Yeah, it's such a hard question in some ways, and also really simple too. How do you define success? Well, we're just starting the show, but I'm wondering if you would play a song for us.
Sure.
Just to kick it off. And for the folks who are listening live, please say hi in the chat so we can see you and say hi back.
I was given wings young as I can remember, crossing streets, running down alleys, building dreams on broken strings and napkins, driving through the night to find my love, every morning fighting for some reason. I'm still making it up as I go. When will my heart age to match my reflection? Will it find a beat of its own? Butterflies, I can hear them scream. Windshield crime scene running down the stream. Wildflowers growing, bleeding orange. I learned to fly just to find my way home. Can you hear me all the way from Gainesville? Breaking out from my cage inside, left with more questions than answers. I shot from the hip 40 times, Butterflies, butterflies, I can hear them scream. Windshield, crime scene, running down the stream. Wildflowers growing, bleeding orange. I learned to fly, still find my way. This headlight scream for my attention. 1,000 voices sound like one. History will meet me in the morning. Generations sing my story. Generations sing my story. Butterflies, butterflies, I can hear them scream. Windshield, crime scene, running down the stream. Wildflowers growing, bleeding orange. I learned to fly. I learned to fly. I learned to fly. To find my way home. Thank you. I felt like I was peeking out there a little bit.
I was just, while you were playing, I was just thinking, man, I really have like mastered this coup of like inviting songwriters from all over the place into my little shed every week and just like have you play for me. This is so great. Thank you.
Well, it is my honor. Thank you for having me.
So you mentioned, my ears kind of pricked up when you said Gainesville. Have you spent time in Florida?
I have not, but Tom Petty was inspiration for that song, so I tried to grab as many Tom Petty titles and little things here and there. So,
that's fun.
That's where it came from. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I can hear that now. Now that you mentioned that, I'm a Florida native, and we got a lot of UF in my family. So I have a little brother, and he was a little brother and sister. His twin sister so they're a lot younger than me, and they just went off to college. And she went to Gainesville, and he went to UCF. And I was talking to him on the phone, and he's like, "Man, I feel like and the oddball of this family, like everybody's gone to Gainesville." And I was like, I didn't go to Gainesville. Like I didn't go to college in Florida at all. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's right, you didn't." But
what are they studying?
Oh my gosh, they just started college. I don't know if they know what they're studying.
Probably best they don't until.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish I wish my little sister would study. They're from my dad's second marriage, so they're like, second marriage, so they're like, the second round of kids. I wish she would study music, but I think she's probably going to go into business, like her mom, and I don't know what he's going to study. Well, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of business,
keep me posted.
What'd you say?
I said, please keep me posted.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of postcards, I think this is Jenny Van West. Is that you, Jenny? Postcards. She says, "Hey, sounding great." So, Jenny, I think that's you, and great to see you. She was on the show a couple of weeks ago. She's in Maine, and a fabulous songwriter. So, speaking of business, you went into marketing. You know a lot about marketing, and that is an area. I mean, I feel like that is the corner of being an indie musician that a lot of indie musicians are like trying to figure out, and you have got that locked down. Like you know marketing as a professional, and then have like tied it back into music.
I feel like I do better for others than I do for myself. It's hard to see that 30,000 foot view, but I also feel like I show up for others probably better than I do for myself. So when I did start doing marketing for a living, it was natural to take what I've learned as a musician and show up for other people's businesses to help them grow their business, and I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, I was telling you before that I love the look of your website. I love your logo and all of that stuff. But as I was exploring your work, I stumbled onto something called Musician's Tip Jar. What is that?
It's a podcast that my friend Chris Webb and I probably had the idea 5 years ago to start, and we were talking about diversifying your income as a musician from teaching to playing covers in a hotel lobby to sync licensing to writing your own stuff and sending it out to a fan base. So when the pandemic hit, we just thought, well, now we have time to do it, and we've never done a podcast before, so we hooked everything up and we did 30 episodes for season 1, and we just started season 2 recording them, and we'll probably start releasing those in March. And it's just different ways for musicians to talk about money, and it's a hard thing to talk about. And I think not only are we sharing what we've learned over the years about finance, we're also learning a lot more ourselves as we want to show up for our listeners too and be as well versed as we can.
Wow. So 30 episodes in the first season. So a season is a year? Is that...
We just decided that we were getting tired after 30 episodes and called that the season. And we just felt like we
Holiday
had
time.
Yeah. We had new things to do on the website, marketing wise, and get, we had interns from CU Denver that were leaving. So we just had some things to move around, and so far, so good. We have more people that we're interviewing, and I get to reach out to some friends that I've known since I was 18 that are much further along in the music business than I am, and doing really well for themselves and taking their knowledge and sharing it with the people that tune in.
Yeah, sometimes it's like you could call up a friend and say, hey, could you, could I ask you a few questions? But it's a different thing when you say, hey, will you be a guest on my show? And let me ask you questions there. The conversations are a little different. And I feel like, so I teach this course at Antioch University here in Los Angeles. We just finished last week. It's called Sources of Creativity, and it's all about, the students are all kinds of creatives. They might be writers or musicians or dancers or actors, or some of them are business majors, and some of them are developing apps, all kinds of different types of creativity. And I have them interview someone for their final project. And a lot of them, when they're looking around for someone to interview, they end up reaching out to someone that they know personally. But the conversations that they have with that person, within the framework of a formal interview, they're way different than the conversations that they might just have with that person. Hey, let's go to a bar and have a drink and talk,
Absolutely. And especially when you're talking about numbers, that's one thing we try not to talk about on the podcast, but still get your point across.
Yeah.
There was one story where an artist had $2,500 to spend on a publicist, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to spend it there, and he also had an opportunity to open up for an artist that was selling out rooms. So 10 shows to open up for this artist, and he could spend $250 on each show to open up to a sold out crowd. And he went with that option because he thought his money would go further, where he felt like probably you and I were discussing, playing in front of people or being able to have that intimate setting with a new fan or presenting yourself that way rather than on paper. He would make that $2,500 go further. But he didn't want anyone to know that he paid for that slot to get on that sold out tour.
Oh, he was paying to perform? It was a pay to play situation.
Because they needed help with expenses on the tour bus and everything else, so they already had the show sold out just with one band on the bill. So they thought, okay, we'll bring someone along that can use the exposure, help us out with, and become part of this touring unit, make new connections, play at new venues. I mean, it's an awesome idea as long as it works out for all the parties. But it was interesting that, we can have that conversation, but there was no way we're publicly having that conversation.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. So did your friend end up doing that tour?
He did. And awesome. It was awesome. And he got so many more placements out of that, so many more gigs, made a relationship with every venue. Now he can call that venue anytime, no matter who's playing there and play. So it worked out really well for him.
Wow, so it really forwarded his career.
Yes, and it was a guaranteed show for $250. If you pay $2,500 for a publicist, they can do their job as best they can and do a really good job at it, but it depends on the person on the other side of that email or that phone call is going to dig your music or dig what you represent or how you represent yourself to their fan base.
I'm so curious about this. I wonder if this is the place to ask you the question. So if it's not, just say so. But he paid $250 to play each show. Did he make money on those shows?
He made money on merch.
He sold merch, and that's how he got paid.
Yes.
He didn't get a cut of the door, a cut of a piece of guarantee. He didn't get any of that. He just got the merch.
Correct, because the band could have done that show without that artist.
And did he end up recouping those expenses through merch sales?
He did.
Okay.
So it's a gamble too. I mean, you have to pair up with the right person, the right genre. The audiences have to match. But if I had $2,500 and I had that presented to me, I would definitely say, hey, I can play in front of 500 to 1,200 people every night for 10 nights in a row on a tour.
Yeah.
I'd do that in a heartbeat. I mean, I would pay, 2 nights in a hotel and play by myself for $250?
Yeah. Would you do it solo, or would you bring your band with you?
That would depend. I mean, I would probably do it solo for sure. But if, I think the guys, 2 of the guys that I play with are full-time musicians, so that's something that would have to be addressed for sure.
Yeah. I guess that's true. Even if you're not paying $200, $250 to play a gig, if you're playing with a band, you're paying the band. You've got expenses. So if you're playing it solo, then you don't have a band. Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And we split everything equally. I'm very fortunate to share stage with some awesome musicians and awesome human beings. But every gig that we play, we split equally. We split merch equally. Everything just goes equal. But like you're saying, in a situation like that, I mean, I would definitely benefit more than they would in the situation where I'm paying, for the exposure and the branding and the marketing.
I just can't get that joke out of my head where people always say, yeah, people die of exposure. It's like every time someone says that word, I'm like, yes, but it's a gamble. You have to decide. I mean, we, as indie musicians, we do need exposure. But there are a lot of predators out there who are like, yeah, I'll give you exposure. And it's a completely lopsided business model. But this sounds like it worked out.
Yes. I mean, I've seen that happen where the person headlining would let the opener start 45 minutes, or, their set would be done 45 minutes before they even took the stage, which makes no sense to me. So, you have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would ever pay to play, or just play for nothing for an establishment that was making money off that situation. But if I wasn't bringing anything to the table, I think that is something different as well.
Interesting. I'm trying to trace where I heard it. It was really recently, and I can't place it, but a musician was saying that, his mission, I guess, when he's performing, is to get people up dancing. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, that's interesting. The shows that I play, that's not my mission to get people up dancing. I don't play music that most likely people will dance to unless they're slow dancing. But it's not my mission to make people cry. But I thought when I heard that person say that, I thought, when someone cries at a show, to me that means that they've been really touched by the music, and so we have sort of a heart connection. And I think that that's my mission when I'm performing, is to feel a connection, heart to heart, or story to story, or however you want to say it. I'm curious, what is your mission when you're performing? Do you want people to get up and dance? Do you want them to forget their troubles and do that, or do you want to make them cry? Do you have something?
Well, in Chicago, I don't think I've played any venues that were like listening rooms, so it was a mission to get everyone to dance and to have a good time. And when I came to Colorado, that wasn't the feel here at all for the shows that I had the opportunity to play. They were more listening rooms. So even I started to realize that the lyrics, they didn't make sense so much. No one really cared about it when we were playing in Chicago, because it was a good time. It was upbeat and everyone was, dancing. Yeah. But here, I think to have that heart connection is more of my mission than it was when I was younger. And I think I bring that back to Chicago a little differently than before, and when I show up, I think that same audience kind of shows up, which I'm very grateful for. But I'm so used to no talking here in Colorado that throws me when I go back. I'm like, oh, they're not listening, but my friends there just listen differently.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, maybe they listen with their loud voices.
Yes.
They listen with their whoops and hollers.
Not to say I'm not grateful for them showing up.
I love listening rooms. That's my ideal setting, is to play really where, there is that listening. It feels like it's a dialogue between what's happening on the stage and what's happening in the audience, even though it's a one-sided conversation, really. Well, no, I don't know. I mean, in a way, it's a one-sided conversation, the performer talking, but I think that when audiences are listening in a listening room, they're just not verbalizing their response, but it is a two-way conversation. They are answering, they are responding, just not in a verbal way.
Yeah, because if they are talking when you need them to hear your lyrics, that is a response to how they're, either into your tune or not.
Yeah. Okay, Dave. This is Tomes and Tunes, a songwriter from Austin by the name of Harriet Reynolds, who I think has a new single out this week. I'm really excited about that. But anyway, she's the one that named the show. In the very first episode, it didn't have a name. And she is a literature lover, and the person that I had on the show that day was a songwriter in Massachusetts by the name of Ann Stott, and she is a literature lover. And so this show just naturally started to, that first episode just naturally evolved into talking about books. I forgot to ask you in the green room, but are you a reader? Do you like to read? I have 50-50. Sometimes my guests are like, yeah, no, I don't read. No, and sometimes they love it.
I do like to read. I think with traveling more, I was listening and would tell people, oh, I read that book. And they,
I know.
Did you listen to it or did you read it?
Yeah.
I still have the same understanding of the material that we're going to discuss. But I think there's more weight when you read it. People respect that you,
I do both. I do both, and I actually, that's really funny. I don't know how to talk about audiobooks. I don't know how to say, did I read it? I listened to it. I don't know. There's something, I don't have the language. I don't know how to communicate about it. But, okay, so when you're on tour, you're doing audio books.
Or driving. I mean, I'm audiobook fanatic.
What makes a good audiobook?
I'm lately on this, and I went through, my small little library here to find books about monks or stories that were deep that I wanted to share with you. But I am a self-help junkie. Oh. I love learning about Wim Hof and his ice adventures. The book I have for today is the #1 bestseller, New York Times bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller, The One Thing.
The One Thing.
I love this book.
Who's the writer?
Gary Keller with Jay Papasan. And they just talk about focusing on that one thing, whether it be in your business, in music, in your life, relationships, that pushes the needle a little bit forward. And there's so much noise around us that if we could turn that off or stop just doing the little easy things, what's the one important thing that you can wake up and say, this is what I'm going to do to move forward? Let it be in business, life, relationships.
Yeah.
I go back to this book all the time, and I love it.
So they're talking about single-minded focus, right?
They are, but they're pick that one thing that's going to move the needle. So if you're making an album and you have all these tracks that you need to do, or call for whatever people coming in, what's the one thing today that's going to push that album forward? If you're marketing an album, what's the one phone call that I have to make that's going, and then if you start there every day, the other stuff just gets easier. Or you might find out you didn't have to do it at all and save a whole bunch of time.
Yeah, so just getting your mind clear in the morning when your day starts. What is the top priority of all the noise, all of the static, the gazillion things that could be on your to-do list? What is the most important? And keeping your eye on that. Is that what it's about?
It is, but I don't think it's just morning, and not the way I interpret it.
Yeah.
I think I start my morning with what's my intent to get to the computer by the time I need to. eat breakfast, find some time for myself, some downtime. That's the most important thing right now before I start the next thing. Then it's, I have 2 hours packed with whatever. How do I focus that, and what's the one important thing? And when Anne comes home, that's my focus. Some nights this is where I have to turn off all the noise, and we get to go, spend a lovely dinner together. Or she comes home and she makes that judgment for herself, and she wants nothing to do with me for the evening, and goes takes care of herself for the evening.
She's like, I got my other thing. I got another thing. I got my one thing. It's not you.
Yes. But
okay.
So we get along great that way, and my life has become a little bit easier since this book has come to my life. So that's why I thought I'd share it, because if anyone wants to make life a little bit more exciting and easier while doing that, I think this might help.
Yeah. Is there a passage or like a doggy or anything that you turned down in the book that you could share?
Oh yes, I got your notes prior to
the
show.
You prepared.
To be ready for this.
He does his homework, my friends.
Okay. I lost my dog ear. See, I did my homework and I had it. Okay. I guess this one is just a short one, but it goes back to the difference between starting your day with it and thinking of what's your one thing right now. So the small focus question, what's my one thing right now? Use this when you first wake up and throughout the day. It keeps you focused on your most important work, and whenever you need it, helps you find the levered action or first domino in any activity. The small focus question prepares you for the most productive work week possible. It's effective in your personal life too, keeping you attentive to your most important immediate needs, as well as those of most important people in your life. And I think that's a good place to live.
Yeah, totally. Do you have a morning ritual when you start your day so that you can kind of get your day off in the right way?
I've been on, I'd say, a 4-week. I've only missed one day. I have an ice tub in my backyard.
Talk about Wim Hof. Okay.
For 10 minutes, you can't think of anything else.
No, except, oh my fucking
minutes.
God.
Yeah.
But really, it's about the breath, right?
It is.
You're practicing the breath.
It is, but your body changes and gets used to it. What took me 30 seconds before, I couldn't, now 10 minutes, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, that's for myself, because if anything's going to be more stressful than that in the day, I could handle it, because I've already kind of been through it. Right. So that's my morning ritual, breakfast always, and coffee before I get to my computer, just to kind of start my day with my intentions and what I want to get out of it.
Yeah. How
about you? Do you have one?
Yeah, well, pretty much every day, and this has been true for a really long time. Well, it was different when I was a kid, but now it's coffee first, and journal. Actually, reverse that. I start the coffee maker, and then I sit down and I start journaling, and every morning, journal. And my journaling has changed in the last couple of years. It used to just be free writing, and who knows what it was. It was just across the page, free writing. Sometimes it was observation of the moment, other times it was internal thoughts, sometimes it was reflection or future visions. But now it's a little more structured. I start off my journaling remembering my theme for the year, whatever it is that I've been focusing on for that particular year. This year, I'm thinking about it a lot lately, especially because here we are coming to the end of the year. And on New Year's Day, 2021, I saw the sunset on New Year's Eve, and then I saw the sunrise on the first day of the year. And when the sun was rising, there was a hawk that was circling around the canyon that I was overlooking. And I thought to myself, maybe this is the year of the hawk. The reason I thought that was because 2020 had started with 4 owls. This was crazy, but 4 owls flying over my car and alighting in the road in front of me in Hawaii. And apparently these owls are not typically seen at night. It was nighttime, and they're they're an endangered species. They've never been seen in this particular area, but I took pictures, and my sweetheart and I did a little research. We found someone in Hawaii who could identify the bird, and all of this stuff. So 2020 was the year of the owl. So 2021 was the year of the hawk. And this morning in particular, I was revisiting, what is the symbolism across different cultures, and, what is the symbolism of the owl versus the hawk, and, just exploring that. I always start my journal with what am I grateful for, or how do I feel blessed today? And then I always get to the section of my journal before I close my book. It's usually the last thing I do, but I write down where my focus goes, my energy flows, and I just write down where's my energy flowing today, what's my focus. So
it's beautiful. That's awesome.
And then the day starts, and when I'm lucky, like on a day like today, or not lucky, but when it works out in the schedule, it happens, pretty much half of the week at least, I can start my day with some practicing. Other days I start my day with teaching, and so practicing, when it gets pushed down to the end of the day, it's less likely to happen, to be honest.
I have the same problem.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. I don't know what it is about. It's easier to practice in the morning, before all of the voices start demanding attention.
Yeah.
Those other things.
And the mental fog of it. Just,
yeah. Are you more alert in the morning or at night?
Morning for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am no longer a night owl.
Yeah.
I could be in bed by 10:30, 11. That's a late night.
Yeah, let's talk to the bookers about this.
Yeah.
Venues, come on, man. Let's get the music happening in like the mid-afternoon would be fantastic, so that we can all be in bed by 10:30.
Yeah. If you just think about how your audience changes throughout your career too, I mean, if you want to play those venues when you start at 11 o'clock at night, you better have been picking up a younger audience throughout the years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, once people, settle into their relationships, their professional life, they maybe have families, all that stuff, everybody's going to bed earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I want to say a shout out to Carlos. Happy birthday, Carlos, and nice to see you.
Happy birthday, Carlos.
Speaking of Florida, Carlos is in Florida, and he just had a birthday. What other so you said that you're a self-help junkie. What other, do you have any other titles that you would recommend?
I mean,
yeah,
the
you're like, you got
rule. Let's see, high performance habits. What else is up there? You were talking about journaling. Is it The Writer's Way?
Oh, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Oh, I'd like to go to that every other year. That's something that's awesome. And talk about.
Yeah, have you done a live in-person Artist's Way workshop?
I have not. Do you highly recommend it?
Oh yeah, when I moved to LA a year, so I told you when I moved to well, I didn't tell you this part. Well, yeah, I did tell you this part actually. I pretty much was putting away my guitar and stopping my first phase, my first life as a musician. And I moved to LA, and I was just feeling really lost. And this woman that I worked with, I don't know why, but she put this flyer down on my desk for an Artist's Way workshop that was starting in a month or so. And I didn't know what it was, and I just knew immediately that I needed to do it. And it was a 12-week workshop. It's based around the 12-step programs, but it's the 12 steps to recovering your creativity. And so I went to this workshop taught by this amazing facilitator, Kelly Morgan, here in Los Angeles. And she became a mentor of mine for a couple of years. I did her Artist's Way a few times, and then I started assisting her in these workshops. And over time, now I lead yoga retreats and do yoga workshops and things like that. And definitely the Artist's Way has influenced, or has been an influence for me. Yeah. I love it. I highly recommend it.
It's awesome to hear. It's always nice to find someone who's gone through that book at least once or twice.
Yeah. So you go through the book every couple of years yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I can't believe that I forget to take care of that side of the creative side that just needs some prompting. My friend Brian Sansom is an awesome drummer. He would I was playing a lot when I was younger. I mean, we would do 9 shows a week sometimes. We would do like
9
House of
shows a
Blues
week.
happy hours, then go at night and play. So that's 6 gigs out of the way already. And he would say, if you're not experiencing life, you have nothing to write about, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be writing anything new or bringing anything to the table. And
Yeah.
that book really reminds you to, start living a little bit
Yeah,
more.
when you're performing that much, it's hard to kind of take in ideas and mull them over and churn them into song. That's So were you able to do it? Were you able to write while you were performing that much?
I don't think until I left Chicago did the writing
Wow.
start again. And that's one thing I won't go back to, as far as kind of suffocate myself creatively with so many gigs that,
Yeah.
I just can't come up for air.
Yeah. Well, do you have a I mean, okay, so you talk about these self-help books, and I know that a lot of them are about um about keeping your enthusiasm, staying committed to whatever it is for you, having a discipline, not just waiting for inspiration to strike, but showing up. So what do you do about songwriting? Is it you show up every day or every week or every month, or what, and you do it, or do you wait for the inspiration to strike? How
I
do you
used
approach
to
songwriting?
wait, I think, and then I learned throughout the years that nothing you do in life waits for you to show up,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
I'm the one who has to show up and be there. And now I sit down more often than not, regardless if I have an idea. I think I write down more when I go see shows or are inspired by other musicians,
Yeah.
or I have something next to my bed if I think of something, which I don't think I was doing for a lot of years. So
Yeah.
it's been fun to revive that, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like when you see like if you get a new Jeep, you see Jeeps on the road every day. You see
Yeah.
that car everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And I think when you start to show up to try to be creative, you start to pay attention to when those
Totally.
moments happen.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, when you're thinking about songwriting, then you're looking around the world and you're matching up words and ideas and metaphors and rhymes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, I love it. That's so
I-
awesome.
I think I promised a song by you, I think.
Oh
this?
man, you were.
I
I was gonna.
thought
I was gonna play my song at the very end just
Oh,
to take
okay,
us
I'm
out.
sorry. I
Totally.
I was excited.
Yeah. Well, but you have another song for us, and you're the guest.
Okay.
So.
I wasn't prompting that by any way. I wasn't trying to make it about me.
It is all about you, though. You're the guest. Come on.
I've been waiting in this line, Wonderland. Press replay again, so slow with you. An evening grove, each step closer to this roller coaster ride. A morning kiss to calm your breath. The sun falls under, no more tears in your hands. And at the top of this wooden frame, we'll ride home on this roller coaster ride. This roller coaster ride. This roller coaster ride. I'll carry you to the road, slowly taking curves as I fall deep with you and travel along the skin. The air begins to roll along the tracks we laid as we hold on, as we hold on to this roller coaster ride. Don't close your eyes, enjoy the ride. Come sit closer and I'll hold you now. There's not much time before we find wheel back in line on this roller coaster ride. This roller coaster ride, this roller coaster ride. Thank you.
Wow, that song is a roller coaster ride. That's fun.
Thanks.
Wow, such a great groove. I'm like dancing around over here.
That's my mission. Is I just want to make people dance.
Yeah,
when
that's
I play on the internet.
Yeah,
that's what I'm shooting for.
You know what? I think that this past 21 months of COVID, we've really needed music like that to get people to dance on the internet. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a time when, I mean, gosh, I just remember at the beginning of the pandemic when I would see someone popping on to play a live stream, and you know, if it could get me moving and move that energy through my body, it was like, oh, thank goodness.
I also love the connection between watching the live stream and the artist. They would, if they said, "Oh, I can," you know, "Oh, Dave, you showed up," and it was just like, "Oh, I was experiencing a show differently than I had, you know, live." And so
yeah.
I found that to be pretty cool. Different relationship with, you know, people listening.
Yeah. That's a really great point. And in fact, I wanted to say that Carlos here was in response to what we were just talking about. He wrote, "Live life so you have something to write about." And Carlos, absolutely, I love that. Carlos and I met each other, gosh, 1,000 years ago now, when we were both young little whippersnappers in Boston. He was a little bit younger of a whippersnapper than me, but we were both pretty small. And I just love it. We've now both lived life a little bit. And I want to say also that from our friend Jenny Von West over at Postcards, she's responding to your Wim Hof ice bath. She's like, "I do an hour by the wood stove." That's just great. Jenny, I am right there with you, right? Dave, we'll see you by the wood stove when you're ready to come.
I'll meet you right after, because I definitely need to be by the wood stove after that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I used to be a long distance runner, and after I would run for, you know, an hour or two, anytime I ran more than 6 miles, which was very frequently, I would take an ice bath afterwards. And I couldn't think about it before I did it. If I thought too hard about it, I would just psych myself out. But I would try to make it very pleasant, and I think this is not what you're doing in the ice bath. I would make myself a cup of hot tea and some French toast.
French toast sounds amazing.
And I would sit in the bathtub in an ice bath eating French toast and drinking hot tea, and it made it like such a pleasant experience. I wasn't even thinking about the cold water.
I might have to try that next time.
Yeah, just try your French toast. If you have some, you know, maple syrup, strawberries, perfect. I wanna just share this book, Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks was she just passed away this past week, and so I pulled this off the shelf. I wanted to share with her. She's an outstanding intellect, feminist, really important scholar, and a lot of heart. Obviously, from the title, All About Love. This book, this book is actually a dissertation on love. And so I wanted to share it in a little bit in honor of Bell Hooks. She passed away, I think, yesterday. So I'll just share this little bit. This is in the introduction to the dissertation on love. She says, "On my kitchen wall hang 4 snapshots of graffiti art I first saw on construction walls as I walked to my teaching job at Yale University years ago. The declaration was, 'The search for love continues even in the face of great odds,' and painted in bright colors. At the time, recently separated from a partner of almost 15 years, I was often overwhelmed by grief so profound it seemed as though an immense sea of pain was washing my heart and soul away. Overcome by sensations of being pulled underwater, drowning, I was constantly searching for anchors to keep me afloat, to pull me back safely to the shore. The declaration on the construction walls, with its childlike drawing of unidentifiable animals, always lifted my spirits. Whenever I passed this site, the affirmation of love's possibility, sprawled across the block, gave me hope. Signed with the first name of a local artist, these works spoke to my heart. Reading them, I felt certain the artist was undergoing a crisis in his life, either already confronting loss or facing the possibility of loss. In my head, I engaged in imaginary conversations about the meaning of love with him. I told him how his playful graffiti art anchored me and helped restore my faith in love. I talked about the way this declaration, with its promise of a love waiting to be found, a love I could still hope for, lifted me out of the abyss I had fallen into. My grief was a heavy, despairing sadness caused by parting from a companion of many years, but more important, it was a despair rooted in the fear that love did not exist, could not be found. And even if it were lurking somewhere, I might never know it in my lifetime. It had become hard for me to continue to believe in love's promise when everywhere I turned the enchantment of power or the terror of fear. When everywhere I turned, the enchantment of power or the terror of fear overshadowed the will to love. And then she goes on to say that one day she passes this construction site with this message, and it's painted over. And how upset she was when she found that this daily reminder on her way to work was missing. So she said, after much searching, I located the artist and talked with him face to face about the meaning of love. We spoke about the way public art can be a vehicle for the sharing of life-affirming thoughts. And we both expressed our grief and annoyance that the construction company had so callously covered up a powerful message about love. To remind me of the construction walls, he gave me snapshots of the graffiti art. From the time we met, everywhere I have lived, I have placed these snapshots above my kitchen sink. And every day when I drink water or take a dish from the cupboard, I stand before this reminder that we yearn for love, that we seek it, even when we lack hope that it really can be found.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think I have a new book to read. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I really love, and I love how she says that, you know, public art can be a vehicle for the sharing of life-affirming thoughts. And this kind of goes back to what we've talked about a couple times here about, you know, what's our mission when we're performing. And, you know, as we have come back to music, the difference, I guess, you sort of mentioned this, and I didn't say it about myself, but it's very true that now I approach songwriting different. I feel like I have a mission when I'm writing songs. Back in the day, I think that mission was, it could have simply been stated to be a rock star,
Yeah.
you know, or something like that, you know. But now it's like, no, what is the song actually trying to say, and you know, could it help even one person? Because if it can help one person, then it, even in that small way, made the world a better place.
Yeah, I agree. You wake up differently when you see that you had something earlier, may or may not have taken it for granted, but you wake up with a purpose. I think us as humans need that, you know?
Yeah.
And as songwriters, we just get to express it differently.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Dave, do you have anything that I'll play a song to take us out, I guess, but do you have anything? Do you have anything that you want to promote, though, that you want people, where specific places that you want people to find you and follow you and heart you and save you, or whatever the platform has them do?
I would definitely lead with musicianstipjar.com or mtjpodcast.com.
I'll put that in
Lately,
the chat.
that's a mission of mine. I feel like I've been playing music for, you know, over 20 years, that I have something that hopefully I can offer to make life a little bit easier for musicians and open up a conversation that diversifies their income and sets them up for later in life. But then go to davetamkin.com and, you know, put your email in there. I'll send you some free stickers. We give t-shirts away. And
yeah, you're sending me a shirt, aren't you?
Yeah.
I can't wait to wear that shirt.
It's as soft as a pillowcase. So even if it doesn't, you don't like how it fits, just wrap it around your pillow. It's so soft.
Man, I love that.
But yeah, those are the two things that I would, I guess, close with, and hopefully someone can show up and say hello. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you to you very much for this invitation and for what you've been doing for the last 80 episodes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Dave, I really am enjoying your music. I, for better or worse, listen on Spotify. And many artists have explained why they hate Spotify, and I agree with all of those. And many listeners have complained about Spotify, and I agree with all those too. But the reason I like Spotify myself is because I find that I can discover new artists all the time, and I can get through, I can go through your catalog, and I can just get to know your history as a songwriter, and then other songwriters that are similar, and it's just such a great music discovery platform.
It makes it a lot easier for what you're saying is it makes it a lot easier to go next.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, there's that
okay,
too. There's that too. But every once in a while I go down a rabbit hole of a classic song, like Mr. Bojangles is a good example because that's a song I love. And my dad used to play that. My dad would strum guitar, play a lot of songs when I was a kid, and one of the songs that he played a lot was Mr. Bojangles. And so I went down a couple of years ago a Bojangles rabbit hole where I was just like, oh yeah, who else has covered this song? And could just search under Mr. Bojangles and hear all of these great versions. And it's such a cool tool to do that.
I agree with that for sure. Because then you could do a cover. You could find a cover of a cover that hits you a different way than the other, and then you could express that cover differently. So I agree.
Well, I'll say that I love Nina Simone's version of Mr. Bojangles. So there's that. If anyone's gonna go down a Bojangles rabbit hole,
I'll listen to that after this.
Let's see here. What is Mary Schindler? Nice to see you. Hello. And Postcards says that she will check out your podcast. So Jenny Von West has a podcast called Postcards, and she reads postcards on her podcast.
Brilliant.
And she sends postcards. So
Jenny,
if you send
say her name again.
Jenny Von West, and if you send her a postcard, she will read it on her podcast.
That sounds like a wonderful idea. And
isn't it a great idea?
I feel relaxed just hearing about it.
Yeah. And Lucky Star Radio says that they were just listening to John Denver's version of Mr. Bojangles yesterday. What? We're on the same wavelength, Lucky Star Radio and I. I love it. I love John Denver too, by the way. Yeah. That was another big favorite of my dad to play. Let's see here. Speaking of playing,
I'm going to hit mute on this because I want to hear it very crystal clear.
I want to first decide what song I'm playing.
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh, you know what? I was gonna play a song from the album that came out last summer. I have not played these songs on this show in some time. And this is a song that the setting of the song is New Year's, and so I thought, there's only one time a year that I really get to play this song at, in its proper placement of the year. It doesn't sound like a holiday song, but it was written remembering a night, New Year's Eve. Back east, I was living in a cold state, like a lot of the states I've lived in. And so, let's see here. So this is a song called You Were Light, and it's the first song on my album, 1,000 Tiny Torches. And besides thinking back to New Year's Eve and the relationship I was in at the time, I was also thinking about the word namaste, which is the Sanskrit word that means the light in me sees the light in you. And I was thinking about this old relationship and how it had ended rather badly, as relationships often do, not always. And how for years I had just felt really tangled up about it and angry. And then fast forward, more time had gone by, and I thought, I can finally see the light in that person. The light that we had originally seen, that we had maybe, that had originally drawn us to each other. Oh, Lucky Star Radio is doing an hour of John Denver on their station for his birthday. Okay, Lucky Star Radio, you are my kind of station. I love you. I have just met you and I love you.
Did you just give yourself reverb?
I did.
Did I get reverb?
No.
What? It sounded so magical. I was like, oh, it sounds great.
You gotta do, you gotta look out for yourself.
Control. Yeah. Okay. Going back on mute.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Stood out in the cold, the end of an old year. A sprinkling of snow, a noisemaker blow. Your face reflected gold and red. You lit your cigarette, and for a second you were late, and I could navigate your sky, steer through 1,000 storied miles, sail through miracles and trials. We never saw spring, you never stopped drinking. I searched in the dark, stayed looking too long. I saw your spark and thought of stars that shine 10 billion years. 'Cause for a second you were late, and I could navigate your sky, steer through 1,000 storied miles, sail through miracles and trials. You were late, all our uncharted waters clear, and all of our faults and fractured nights were beautified. Ooh, 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 you were late. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I saw your spark and thought of stars that shine 10 billion years. 'Cause for a second you were late, and I could navigate your sky, steer through 1,000 storied miles, sail through miracles and trials. You were late, all our uncharted waters clear, all of our faults and fractured nights were beautified. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You were late. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You were late.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for telling us the story before you sang it too, because that was a nice visual.
Yeah. I have such a snapshot in my head of, I mean, it's funny. I was working at this restaurant, and I don't recall when in my memory when I try to put all the pieces together, I don't remember this restaurant having an upstairs, but I remember this moment of being like upstairs on a balcony, looking out, New Year's Eve, waiting tables at this restaurant. And, so of course, like everybody's partying, but then, the servers, we all got outside somehow with glasses of bubbly, and there's snow falling and there's lights on the snow. And I just have this memory. I'm like, I can't quite put that balcony architecturally, I can't connect it to the rest of the restaurant, but that's the way memory works, fractured. Yeah.
Fractured memories. I like that. Even saying that out loud sounds good.
Dave, so awesome to connect with you, and I hope to see you in Colorado at some point in time, or
Anytime.
one of the other places that we, I know that we're kind of like in the same circles. We're gonna bump into each other at some point in person, so I look forward to it.
Well, I do too. And hopefully this is not the last time we keep in touch. And
Totally.
I look forward to talking music and books with you more.
Yay! Yeah, thank you. Okay,
Thank you
you
for
stay
the
right there.
opportunity.
I'm going to try to do this. Jenny Von West, actually. I think you were the one who said I should do this. I'm a little clumsy about it. Was it you, Jenny? I can't remember. Anyway, so took Dave off. Dave Tamkin. Please follow him. Find him. He's such a good energy person. Actually, I want to say that is true of everybody that's been on this show. I have been really lucky in that it's just been a whole series of great energy people. I love musicians. I love songwriters. They're just so interesting and thoughtful, and we're all just trying to make our way, figure this out, how to do this crazy career, and really how to do this thing that, the model of being a performing songwriter was never clear cut, but after COVID started, it's just got jumbled up. It's like refrigerator magnets. You throw them all up and they land in a different, way, and some of them are upside down, and we're trying to make sense of it all. So, it's been really great. This is the last live episode of Tomes and Tunes for the year. Next week, I have a pre-recorded episode with Steve Key. He is a marvelous songwriter, and he also presents a lot of shows up in the central coast of California, which is how he and I really started talking. And he was down in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Hey, got anything going on?" And I said, "Well, you're vaccinated, I'm vaccinated. Let's get into the she shed and record a Tomes and Tunes episode sitting side by side." So that's going to be broadcast next week. And next week, of course, is Christmas time. A lot of you are probably celebrating. And if not Christmas, you're celebrating New Year's. I will see you back in January with new episodes of Tomes and Tunes. Take good care, be safe, and I'll see you next time.